And we're going to go through the court documents and just kind of like break down exactly what the hell is going on. And I'm not going to lie, you might be pretty shocked.
New information tonight after singer and rapper NBA Youngboy faces dozens of charges.
As we have reported, Mark, that he was taken into custody in Cache County, accused of organizing fraudulent drug prescriptions at Utah pharmacies, legally known as Kentrell Galden. He's been on house arrest in Utah since 2021. Ariel Harrison live tonight after speaking with one of those targeted businesses. Ariel.
Yeah, well, one pharmacist I spoke with said they thankfully didn't fulfill that order as they noticed some red flags. But unfortunately, others weren't so lucky. Now tonight, the young celebrity who already had a criminal history now faces more than 60 related charges to this alleged scheme. Pharmacy owner Eric Stewart says hearing news of an arrest in the fraud ring investigation involving his business was a relief.
I'm just happy that they're able to connect the dots.
Last September, Stewart says his team at Reed's Pharmacy in Hiram got a call from someone claiming to be a doctor needing to fill a prescription, something he called the first red flag.
Usually don't get a doctor calling in a cough syrup themselves. That'll be like a nurse or something. But then just their medical terminology was off, the quantities, the way they pronounced the things. Everything was suspicious.
Like Stewart's case, arrest documents reveal multiple other pharmacies across Utah were targeted too. According to investigators, callers linked to Youngboy would call in prescriptions using the name of a real doctor in Provo in some cases, but giving fake patient information. Individuals would then pick up the order from pharmacies, mainly promethazine and codeine.
These type of medications they're trying to get are regulated, so throwing a chink in the process can really disrupt potential opportunities to get the medication you actually need.
Weber County Sheriff's teams helped take Galden into custody with federal partners just yesterday.
We believe this to be several more months of work for us.
Efforts local business owners like Stewart appreciate.
But when it's on a bigger scale like this, it's more concerning, right? Because they're pretty persistent, and it's just a big disruption to us, and it's just a headache for us to have to deal with.
Now, the 24-year-old rapper is booked at the Cache County Jail, facing 63 different charges related to this, including having a dangerous weapon as a restricted person. Reporting live, Ariel Harrison, KUTV 2 News.
Yo, okay. So I got the court documents, and, the devil is always in the details when it comes to these things. Yo, let me tell you how wild this is, right? Yo, when the police come in and they're raiding his house. Now, Youngboy, as was directed and ordered by the feds when he got house arrest, essentially he had to hire this really top tier security team, right? Everybody who shows up to the property, even when I went, his probation officer has to have a list of their names. He has to maintain under a certain amount of people on the property. And everybody who goes there has to get this background check and at least, investigative, like, let me see him Google this guy, just to make sure felons aren't going up there to go hang with him, right? Okay, cool. So that's one of the reasons, I've been up there, like, he got like a private army. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, there's like a private army that's protecting Youngboy, okay? They're really serious. Multiple checkpoint, a lot of shit. Like, it kind of rivals. Well, 6ix9ine just had security for moving around, and they were really good. But this is like army-like militia niggas that are like, imagine if someone had a private army. Just like whatever you want to take that as, that's what it is. So clearly, if the feds are going to come in to search, do a search warrant, they have to get like SWAT team. They probably went in there just as hard, no Diddy, but just as hard as they went to Diddy's house, no Diddy. Or even harder. Like, the nigga's protected by a bunch of dudes with long guns. You know what I mean? Like, that's always on guard, right? Okay, cool. So, they go in there, and a few, like, this is how you know, like, I don't know if Youngboy is just, like, detached from reality, but he admits to a crime in there, right? He's arrested, and he's on federal house arrest for having a gun as a felon. They go to the house. They find out there's a gun in the house. Apparently belongs to his wife. They just ask him, hey, Youngboy, have you ever, like, used this gun? You ever grabbed it? Is your DNA going to be on it? Because we're going to check. And he literally just tell him, yeah, I've touched it a couple times. I moved it from here to there, but mostly that's my wife. And they're like, what? You're not supposed to touch this shit, right? So He admits to it, allegedly, which obviously they would probably have on body cam or whatever the case is. They also take his phone, and they're like, hey, you know we're going to get the stuff from it anyway. You want to give us the password? And he's like, you'll take it and break it or whatever. Anyway, I do have the documents. We're going to kind of read through it. Here's the main document that kind of shows all the charges right here. These are all the charges that he got. So the first one is possession of a dangerous weapon by restricted, which is like a felon, right? So that's a this is a felony. Pattern of unlawful behavior, then identity fraud, a bunch of those, which I would imagine each of these are instances. So all these, the reason why he got 63 charges, they're probably identified over 40 times that this has happened, or at least over 20, right? I guess 20. You can tell how many times. Yeah, because they're gonna double the charge. They're gonna give identity fraud, and then they're gonna give procuring or attempted to procure drugs. So these go hand in hand. So they're probably saying he did this about 20 times, right? By the way, keep in mind the reason why they could charge for a pattern of unlawful activity. Apparently, the statute in Utah, it says anytime an individual has any type of pattern of breaking the law of 3 or more times within a certain time period, you could hit them with this. It's almost like an amplification type of charge. Okay, anyway, so a bunch of these, right? And a bunch of these, and then you're gonna get the same thing for forgery. So they basically get hit with 3 charges, right? You get hit with 3 charges for every time they're saying that him or his people tried to go get, like, these drugs. They're saying he signed off for it, right? He's paying people to go get it, right? Under the false identity or whatever the case, and he's trying to illegally obtain prescription drugs that he's not supposed to have, according to them. By the way, this is also interesting because there was a conversation with the feds in court that the feds said, yo, Youngboy, could you stop taking as much drugs? We think you're on mad drugs. He literally said no. And then not only did he say no, and obviously he didn't say no in court. You just be like, yo, I'm within my rights to be able to do what I'm doing because, I'm suffering from A, B, D, and C. And yeah, he basically told no, right? And if the feds are asking you to slow down or stop taking drugs, you would imagine they would start looking into if the drugs that you're taking are fully legal, right? And they're saying there was also like marijuana that they had there. Okay, cool. Let's read this. This is a probable cause affidavit. Check this out. Kentrell, aka known as Youngboy, has been a target. Let me make this a little bit bigger, chat. Has been a target of an investigation by the Cache County Sheriff Office after being identified as a suspect in a large-scale prescription fraud ring. The prescription fraud ring is known to have attempted or has acquired various prescription medications, specifically promethazine with codeine, a cough suppressant that is heavily abused. That is a heavily abused Schedule 5 controlled substance. Now, let me ask y'all this because y'all know way more about these drugs than me. Youngboy had said in one of these songs that, he said he was rich sipping. Is this what that is? Like rich sipping or something like that? He had said something about he had stopped doing some type of drug and he's like rich sipping or something like that, right? Is that what that means? Is that like just promethazine? Okay, cool. All right. By the way, he said that in the song, so it's nothing, Anyway. From multiple pharmacies in Cache County as well as in the state of Utah. During the investigation, it had been discovered that Kentrell Golden, in concert with many other individuals. By the way, I was trying to look up the other individuals to see if they were charged. I couldn't see anyone that was arrested or taken into custody that he knew, okay? Further identified as ongoing criminal enterprise, okay? So they're almost basically saying this is like, it's definitely not a RICO, but they're saying it's definitely like an organized, what they call a fraud ring. 2 of these individuals has been arrested. Okay, so cool. We have to find out who these people are. 2 of these individuals have been arrested in association with a prescription fraud incident that had been intercepted at Larry's Pharmacy in Smithfield. A synopsis of the event that occurred in Cache County is as followed. On September 19, 2023, Reed's Pharmacy in Hiram received a prescription called in for a Bethel White with a claimed date of birth of 11, which is November 10th, 1949. The prescription was called in by an individual who will be further referred to as the suspect, right? Claiming to be a physician in the Provo, Utah area, providing an actual valid DEA number, NPI number, and other identification for the real physician. Reed's Pharmacy discovered that the phone number that the suspect called in from was a phone number that was not the same as the clinic in the Provo area. They contacted the actual physician, and the actual physician informed the employees of Reed's Pharmacy that he does not have a patient by the name of Bethel White, nor did he call in the prescription to a pharmacy in Hiram. Okay, so they're saying that Youngboy called in pretending to be a doctor. The actual physician told the pharmacy employees that this has happened several times today, and that they did not write any prescription for Bethel White, and the prescription was called in for an antibiotic. Ooh. Okay. Antibiotic could mean anything. I mean, antibiotic could be for STDs, or it could even be for, viral infection. Well, does it cure viral infections? Any type of bacteria infections that you could get, like, whatever. Cool. As well as promethazine. With codeine, a Schedule 5 controlled substance. Cool. Law enforcement stays in the parking lot of Reed's Pharmacy waiting for someone to show up to retrieve the prescription, but no suspect showed up. On September 19th, 2023, Spence Pharmacy in Logan received a phone call from the suspect using the same physician information, calling in for a prescription for Gwendolyn Cox. With a claimed date of birth of May 10th, 1951, the prescription was for promethazine with codeine similar to the prescription called in at Reed's Pharmacy. About 2 weeks after the prescription had been called in, the prescription had been picked up by a female individual who will be referred to as Associate 2. Associate 2 picked up the prescription for Gwendolyn and alleged that Gwendolyn was her grandmother. Later on, October 9th, 2023, Spence Pharmacy received another call from the suspect identifying the same physician, again trying to prescribe promethazine with codeine to Gwendolyn Cox. However, the pharmacist requested that they send a hard copy of the prescription with the patient this time, and the suspect hung up the phone. At this time, employees of Spence Pharmacy attempted to call the real physician back after looking up his phone number for a practice in Provo. Contact was made with the real phissician, and he told them that he has not called in any prescription and that his name and credentials are being used fraudulently. It is also, how does that happen? Is it someone for the actual doctor that's prescribing it, giving out his information for people to do the fraud? Or are the doctors saying, I can't do it myself, but give me a little money, I'll let you use it, but if you get caught, I'm going to say, I don't know how you got it done. Which one is it more likely? Because apparently, if it was Youngboy making these calls, these are real, actual, like they got real shit. You get what I'm saying? It's also a value to note that the home address given to the pharmacy for Gwendolyn was a local address in Logan. Okay. On January 17, 2024, fraudulent prescription was called into Larry's Pharmacy in the Smithfield, Utah area. The prescription has been called in by the suspect. Damn. As the physician. The prescription was being called in for a female named Gwendolyn Cox. Slightly different spelling and date of birth was the one at Spence Pharmacy with the provided birthday of November 22nd, 1949. The prescription was called in with promethazine with codeine, listed as a Schedule 5 controlled substance. After receiving the request for the prescription, the pharmacy had found the call to be suspicious. The pharmacy attempted to call the doctor again, but the phone number was disconnected. The pharmacy searched for the practice on the internet for the physician and found that he was a medical provider in Provo. During the conversation with the physician, he stated that he doesn't have a patient by the name Gwendolyn Cox and suggested that the prescription request was fraudulent. The physician had told the pharmacy that this has happened many times. The pharmacy contacted the law enforcement and provided the information. In addition, the pharmacy had also been in communication with someone who identified themselves as Gwendolyn Cox, and they were making arrangements for their grandchild to pick up the prescription. They described that Gwendolyn sounded as if they were a much younger person disguising their voice to sound much older. The phone numbers that the pharmacy had received the calls from were later called by the pharmacy and found to be disconnected or not in service. During the Smithfield incident, I've been assigned to okay, cool. A plan was devised to contact whoever was going to arrive to pick up the prescription. Two different females, later identified as associates of Kendra Golden, a.k.a. Youngboy, known as Associate 1 and 2, arrived at the pharmacy to pick up the prescription. They were detained for investigation and later arrested for their role in the prescription fraud. However, during the investigation, I was contacted by dispatch and informed of a Gwendolyn Cox needing to speak with me. I contacted Gwendolyn at the phone number that she provided dispatch. During my conversation with Gwendolyn, she gave me the last name of White when asked for the spelling of her name. Huh? The fuck? During my conversation with Gwendolyn, she gave me the last name of White. When asked for the spelling of her name, Gwendolyn only gave me her birth month and date and couldn't provide her age to me. Gwendolyn also would not provide her address, though the address was given to the pharmacy was local to Smithfield. Also, wait, this person called the police? Also, during the conversation with Gwendolyn, it was much clear that was a fake voice being used. Gwendolyn sounded as if she was a younger female, or as what? Can I not read her? This shit is just confusing. Gwendolyn sounded as though she was a much younger male from the southern states. What? Gwendolyn made a statement. Well, I asked her to, and she said she'll have you call me. What in the fuck? Well, I asked her to. Oh, man. Well, I asked her to, and she said she'll have you call me. The statement was response to a request that was made to have Gwendolyn call dispatch and have them transfer her call back through. According to your affiant's training and experience and having lived in the southern United States, the terminology in replacing the word ask with ax or other variation is consistent with a southern dialect in states such as Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, and other southern states. During the incident at Larry's Pharmacy, known associates 1 and 2 arrived in a white Chevy Tahoe registered to Kentrell Gaulden out of Texas. During the investigation, a strong odor of marijuana emitted from within the vehicle. When both known associates 1 and 2 were confronted with the odor, they consented to a search of the vehicle. A search was done in their presence where they could easily withdraw consent at any time. Residual marijuana flakes were found throughout the vehicle. They claimed the marijuana in the vehicle was not theirs. By the way, I think that's why they charged Youngboy with marijuana, because the vehicle is registered to him. The vehicle registration was observed as well, belonged to Kentrell Gaulden. During the communication with known associates 1 and 2, they continued to suggest that they were going to the pharmacy to pick up the prescription for a friend, and they wouldn't never give a name. It's also of value to note that when interviewing one of the females, they were asked who the prescription was for, and she said Deborah Cox. The following day, a person who self-identified as Kentrell Gaulden business manager attempted to contact me in efforts to get Kentrell Gaulden's Tahoe out of impound. During this time, the impound company had become suspicious that the vehicle had been stolen based on their communication with Kentrell Gaulden's business manager. Based on the suspicion that they had developed, and contact was made with the business manager to try to figure out if the vehicle was stolen. Through the conversations with the business manager, I requested to speak with Kentrell Gaulden to confirm it was him. A short time later, I was able to speak with Youngboy on a conference call that was recorded through dispatch. During that call with Kentrell, he claimed that the females arrested in Smithfield were family. During the conversation, I only asked questions regarding Kentrell's relation to the female who possessed his vehicle, as well as trying to confirm that they had his vehicle with his permission. Youngboy agreed that they had permission to have his vehicle and asked about getting it out of impound. I provided Youngboy with the information on how to get the vehicle out of impound. The conversation continued with Youngboy for a duration of time, and he made a statement determined to be an excited utterance. This statement was made without asking a related question. Ask him, oh, no, hell no. This is crazy. Ask him about, the prescription that they picked up. Oh my God. They say Youngboy called the police, who I guess he don't know that they're investigating them, but they locked up the 2 girls, right? Or at least detained them. They towed the car because it's probably weed or whatever, and they were trying to figure out if it was stolen. Youngboy calls down there, be like, yeah, it's not stolen. They have permission to have my vehicle. How do I get the vehicle, right? Now, something has to trigger to say, hey, they picked up your 2 female affiliates at the pharmacy? maybe they're trying to investigate you getting these prescriptions. I guess that didn't kick in at the time because he's supposed to act like, I don't even know about no goddamn prescriptions. I gave him the car, but I don't know what they do with the car, right? Like, anyway, he says, ask him about the prescription that they picked up. Youngboy pauses for a few seconds and continues slightly inaudible. Showing the fucking hospital bed. Showing the hospital bed. That's the only reason is that this utterance that Youngboy made was to another person on a conference call, later identified as by their moniker and claimed to be Kentrell Gaulden's brother, will be referred to as Known Associate 3. Known Associate 3 has been confirmed to be a lifelong friend of Kentrell Gaulden and lived with him in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, according to federal probation. Given the manner in which this conversation would break up and go silent for durations of time, it is suspected that they had mute my ability to hear multiple times throughout the call. Given that Kentrell was telling Known Associate 3 to ask about the prescription, it's suspected that they intended to mute me at that time. The utterance was made with no questions asked regarding, oh my God. So they're alleging that Youngboy is on the phone with the cops trying to get his car out, and the other guy who's Known Associate 3 is on the phone trying to get the drug still, and Youngboy is muting while he's talking to the cops and unmuting, but he forgot to mute it, and he starts basically saying, yo, ask about the fucking prescription, nigga, ask about you get what I'm saying? And the police is like, oh, ain't no fucking way, right? In addition, it proves intent, and Youngboy continued to attempt to further the prescription fraud by talking about the prescription, saying she on the hospital bed, referring to the patient Gwendolyn Cox from the previous day. Also value to note, Kentrell used the word ax instead of ask. This is similar to my conversation with Gwendolyn the night before when Gwendolyn used the same word. So Youngboy pretended to be a woman. What the fuck? Based on my training and experience, and they're going to say the same thing again. During my investigation, I contacted a real physician and spoke with him regarding fraudulent activity and requested any DOPL records that were created by way of fraudulent prescriptions that have been called under his name. On February 12, 2024, the physician sent the DOPL information for all the fraudulent prescriptions that have been called in to various pharmacies under his license. In addition, they provided a list of 3 additional pharmacies that they have received calls to verify prescription recent to that time. A synopsis of the fraudulent DOPL records are as follows, and noted as prescriptions that had been successfully picked up. Okay, so all right, prescriptions for Ann White, Beatrice White, Caroline White, and by the way, you're gonna notice they kind of like stagger the dates a bit, right? You're gonna see 12/5, so that's 12/5 and 5/12, right? So you're gonna see like patterns here: 12/5, 5/12. And that's, you know, there's actually a theory that said when people lie, or you can know when people are making up shit, especially with numbers, because the brain works. It's such a supercomputer. The way how it stores information is by pattern recognition. So even if you're asked to lie and make up numbers, your brain is always going to want to make up numbers. If it's like, you think of 3 numbers right now, right? Your brain, if I ask you that 5 different times, your brain is almost going to come up with the same. There's going to be a pattern in the numbers you come up with, even if it's random, different times. I don't know if you guys knew that. Okay, cool. All right. Another one for Gwendolyn White, actually, Alice White, Francine White, Beatrice White, one actually for Kentrell Gaulden, but it was, look at the date of birth, November 2nd, 1953. Wow. Man, this is crazy. Francine Taylor. Hey, how long does like codeine last? Like, because it keeps saying that this is for like a 7-day supply or 8-day supply. So I'm guessing this is why the fraud, if this is real, this is why they were doing it so much, because you're only getting a fix for a week at a time. And shit, that's probably a fix for somebody who's not taking more than the regular dosage, right? Now, if you're kind of addicted and you're probably taking 2 or 3 times or maybe 4 times the amount of the regular dosage, a 7-day supply probably lasts you like 2 days, right? 2-3 days, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see somebody says, yo, that shit could be done in like 2 days or Shit, if you sharing it with people, that shit could be done in hours. Okay, all right. So I see why they got to make up a lot of prescriptions, right? Wow. By the way, not trying to encourage crime or nothing like that. How do people get all of this going on now? You don't actually go get the real prescription, right? Don't you have like some plug that just gives it to you? Or do you need the prescription to get the real shit? Because if it's prescribed, you know how activists used to be like this big thing, and then like I forgot what happened to that company, but I do know it's completely it's a Schedule 5 drug. Like it's controlled a lot. Oh, you got to get it from a doctor? So I'm guessing, bro, they got to be like, yo, it's like weed. Like, there's dispensaries and then there's like weed men, right? Like, bro, you don't got no plugs that could get this shit? Or maybe the real shit that's potent, that you know ain't cut with nothing, ain't like fake lean. You ever heard fake lean? Maybe that you have to get from the doctor. Okay, cool. All right, wow, there's a lot of them. Harriet White. Now, you might as well put it Harriet Tubman at this point, right? Caroline White, whatever. Okay, cool. All right. And which a juvenile, Associate 8 attempted to pick up the fraudulent prescription for Kentrell Golden with the fake birthday. The account was given, what the fuck? All right, cool. So someone else gets like arrested or something. So-and-so had contacted provider out of Houston and verified the prescription was legit. This was discovered after blah, blah, contacted an acquaintance of YB that was picking up prescriptions. It is vague to note that this Tahoe, so they were driving Youngboy vehicles to go pick these things up, that is visible is also visible in one of Kentrell's music videos. This has been confirmed by the physical features visible to me on the Tahoe, such as small indistinguishable dent on the column between the driver and the passenger rear door. The rims also match in both the music video and the body camera footage when the vehicle was impounded. Okay, so they're talking about the same thing. And okay, so they're confirming that that vehicle was actually Youngboy. Okay. Further investigation into Youngboy was conducted after he had been identified as the primary suspect. He's a blah blah. Okay, cool. All right. Okay, cool. So they list his criminal history and da 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 da. All right. Cool. All right. So then here's this. Kentrell is currently they're saying that there was never mind. Cool. Youngboy is currently residing in an unincorporated area of Weber County in the vicinity of Huntsville, Utah, in a large multi-million-dollar house described as a mansion, and is on federal pretrial services house arrest. He's been affixed with an ankle monitor by federal probation for an extended period of time and has to seek approval from his probation officer in order to leave his residence for activities such as doctor's visits, financial trips to go to the bank, and shopping. In addition to Kentrell Golden's travel restrictions, his guests all have to, which I told y'all, have to be approved by federal probation before entering onto his property. Part of the approval process consists of background check by his probation officer. Federal probation is keeping a list of all the people who visited him, including those who have been denied by federal probation. Damn, they got me on the list? Goddamn. Holy shit. Through contact with Kentrell Golden's probation officer, it was discovered that known associates 1 and 2 were known visitors of Youngboy. In addition, known associate 3, who had picked up a fraudulent prescription in Riverton, is also listed on visitors log for Kentrell. Federal probation identified that known associate 3 frequented YB's residence numerous times this winter. This is consistent with associate 3 being in Utah and picking up this prescription for Beatrice White. Okay, I'm going to go down here to when they actually do the search. Okay, so an affidavit for a search warrant was prepared and submitted to the attorney's office for them to review, and they did get an approval from the county's office, right? And it was approved by Honorable Craig Hall with the search warrant number this. And then on this day, so 4 days later, the search warrant was executed at his residence, northeast of Huntsville, Utah, right? YB and other guests of the residence had been detained. An interview was conducted with Kentrell Golden. he was advised of his Miranda rights, acknowledged them, and consented to participate in the interview. During the interview, Youngboy was asked about the presence of firearms in the home. Youngboy said that a gun belonging to his wife was in the home, and he was asked that if he ever handled the gun or if his DNA would be found on the firearm. He denied the presence of his DNA would be found on the gun. However, he described that 2 days earlier, he had picked the gun up and he touched the gun. Nah, this is crazy. He further described that his wife, where's my fucking, I had like a Red Bull. He described that his wife always has the gun within reach throughout the house. He then was asked about the presence of prescriptions, medications in his residence, and he described he had a prescription for promethazine. He provided the doctor's name for who had prescribed him the medication and suggested it was a local doctor in the Roy area. I asked YB about having any other doctors specifically from Houston, Texas, call in prescriptions, and he said no. The question was rephrased, and Youngboy continued to deny that having prescribed medications from any other doctor. Though BENSF had confirmed a prescription called in for him by a doctor from the Houston area. Cantrell was further asked questions regarding his associates picking up these fraudulent prescriptions. He claimed to have no knowledge of their activities. He confirmed his associates. He confirmed the association with known associates 1, 2, and 3. He was also confronted with the conference call when he spoke to me during January of 24. January 24th, I guess. And he claimed to not remember. He made suggestions that I likely spoke with his dad. However, Cantrell has a very distinct voice, and the voice of the conference call, or the voice during the conference call, was the same as what I could hear while speaking with him. In addition, at a later time, I spoke with Cantrell's father, and his father's voice was clearly different than whom I had spoken with in whom I had spoken with in January. He was questioned further, and however, he continued to be deceptive in the knowledge of any illegally possessed a prescription or prescription fraud schemes, and no further information was received during the interview. Okay, during the search of the residence, law enforcement found a prescription bottle in Cantrell's Golden's bathroom. Inside the master bathroom, identified as his. The bottle was for Caroline White. Okay. One of the known fraudulent names with the corresponding prescribing doctor who had confirmed the fraud. The prescription for doxycycline. What is that? Doxycycline. I think I know what that is. Oh, yeah, it's an antibiotic. So this is like and I remember when, someone had leaked some shit, and it was like, yo, Ak is taking like fucking STD medication. No, this could be, I think this is used for mad different things. If you have a bad flu, right? Which, by the way, I also get bad flus. Like, sometimes I have strep throat. It's used for this, but I also hear that if you have like chlamydia, it will clear that too. Like, it'll clear up chlamydia. I don't know about like gonorrhea or some shit like that. But like chlamydia, I think most antibiotics clears up. But it could, it's also, it's not an STD medication. So it's not only prescribed for one thing. It's also prescribed for like colds, flus, and other shit. Right? Let me click over here and see what. Yeah. Also acne as well. Right? Yeah. Yeah, actually, I don't even think this is really prescribed. Is this prescribed for like chlamydia? I don't know. Oh, okay. What is yeah. So it inhibits bacterial growth and is thought to have anti-inflammatory effects. It's used for bacterial infection, include acne, rosacea, urinary and respiratory tract infections. Yeah, which I get a lot of those. Like, I'll cough up green phlegm. Like, sorry, I know that's TMI. But when I get sick a lot, like, I start coughing up green shit. It's kind of weird. And I usually have to take an antibiotic. I ain't gonna lie. Eye infections, gum disease, gonorrhea, chlamydia, and syphilis. Okay? And it could be used to prevent malaria and treat infections caused by termites. Mites. What the fuck is mites? Is that termites? Mites ticks or lice. Okay, cool. All right, we got it. Okay, the prescription was for doxycycline. So you could, again, you take it and you, whatever you want to think that he had that for, you know, maybe he had STD or maybe he just had a cold. I don't know. Picked up from blah, blah. The prescription bottle was consistent with the time frame of the patient information for the promethazine with codeine. Okay, cool. This is consistent with, I'm just trying to see if there's anything like interesting found. A prescription bottle with promethazine with codeine was also found inside the bathroom with no prescription label on the bottle. The handgun that Cantrell had admitted to possessing was also found inside the closet of the master bedroom. The handgun had an empty magazine with one in the... What the fuck? The handgun had an empty magazine with one in the chamber. Why the magazine gonna be empty but one in the chamber? That's kind of odd, but whatever. Who loads one gun into the thing and cocks it? All right, whatever, bro. Who cares? The handgun was not in a secure location and in a place easily and frequently accessible by Cantrell Gaulden. So I think that's the thing. You know, when you have, like, for example, Youngboy is a felon, right? He's not supposed to be around guns. He's not supposed to possess a gun, but they can't infringe on the Second Amendment rights of other law-abiding citizens, like, for example, a wife, even a kid. Obviously, we're talking about an adult here. Like, say he had children, or like, let's say his parents live with him, or a relative. So they could have a gun. He just can't touch the gun. And technically, you know, even though, you know, that's a workaround, you have your girl bring the gun, but, you know, shit go down, you won't take it from her, right? But, you know, they usually advise, especially in situations like that, that the gun is inaccessible to the person who can't have the gun, right? Just like you could catch a charge if you have a gun just kind of laying out on the table and then a kid, you know what I mean? A kid fucking shoots himself or something like that. That would be like a charge for you. In most places, like, you know, you're supposed to keep handguns either secured or around people who know how to use guns. Anyway, further search of the residence yielded 3 more additional bottles. One of the bottles was prescribed to Cantrell, and then the other 2 was prescribed to some other people. Cool. Per the search warrant, all electronics were to be searched. A triage was being conducted as to not interfere with his music business. What's a triage? Okay, so yeah, because I could imagine if they seize his computer with all his like music, that would be crazy. A triage? Oh, a preliminary assessment. Yo, I ain't gonna lie to you. Yo, rich privilege is such a thing. Yo, if they run into your house and execute a search warrant, my nigga, like, they're not gonna sit here and think like, yo, we're trying to make sure you can still do your music when we leave. Like, fuck no, nigga. Give me your computer. Like, give me the shit. You get what I'm saying? It says it was being conducted as to not interfere with his music business. However, Cantrell refused to give any passcodes to his devices. He answered, "Take it and break it," when I asked him for the password to the devices. All devices were seized as they are suspected of containing communications that would further provide further evidence of the identified ongoing criminal enterprise. Damn, they probably took his laptop then. Yeah, he got like laptops and probably like hard drives with like music, because he records everything there. So unless he had like a backup somewhere, it's possible that the feds have, or not, well, the feds, this is the feds, they have all his music. Wow. He was placed under arrest for identity fraud, forgery, prescription fraud, each count of the incident in the attempted procurement of the fraudulent prescriptions. Okay. These accounts for 18 confirmed successfully, and at least 2 confirmed attempts, I guess, unsuccessfully. Cool. Oh, wow. Yeah, they booked him into Cache County Jail. They made contact with the Cache County attorney's office, and the charges were reviewed and confirmed. Okay. All right. So this is like the affidavit they put out. Kind of crazy, but yeah. Then the subsequent thing afterwards, you know, there's a complaint. This is a complaint here. 1 second. Okay. This is a complaint here. State of Utah plaintiff versus Cantrell. And yeah, it just kind of lists all the charges, but you're not going to see like the information. And then what happened recently, which is, you know, this is going to be bad for Youngboy fans. The feds, not the feds, actually, hold on. Oh, this was a thing for him to be held without bail. So this was the state of Utah saying, yo, like the current offense is a felony. He should be held without bail. And the feds actually came in, his judge from the Louisiana case, and they said that they're sending him back to jail. Or they're going to lock him up. He got to get extradited federally back to Louisiana because they're thinking this house arrest thing was a bad fucking idea. Like that's essentially what they're kind of coming up with. Yeah. Actually, I don't have that document. I did get it, though. All right. Pretty much, man, Youngboy is not going to be out for a while. He's going to sit at least in jail for like about a month. He has a hearing federally. Number one, they're already recommending no bail. They're already recommending no bail for the state charges, right? For the Utah state charges. However, the feds have also granted a motion to arrest Youngboy and revoke his bail. So they have another hearing to like make a final decision. But regardless, whether the state is going to hold him or the feds, he ain't getting out for, I would imagine, a significant while. Here's a good thing for him, though. His trial is in July. So his trial is going to be in July. And if he's successful, he'll get out, right? Like, you know, he'll beat that federal case. However, this prescription fraud ring thing is kind of like a problem. And you know, maybe he could plea it down or whatever, or, you know, get let out on bail where he's not confined to a house. So if I'm a Youngboy fan, I would assume that Youngboy will not be let out of jail until the conclusion of his trial in July. And that's, let me see, now is April. So May, June, July. So 3 months. He's probably going to sit for 3 months, go through trial. If he beats that, hopefully he could plea this down to some other shit and, you know, either get, I don't think they're going to do house arrest again, but either get out on bail and be able to move around, or I don't think they're going to give him something light with the prescription shit either, but we'll see. Okay. All right. That's the Youngboy situation.